Hey everybody, today is Wednesday, April the 21st, 2021, and we are going to be talking about quadrilaterals today. Last Wednesday, we worked on polygons, and we learned that polygon was a closed shape with straight sides, and each side was made up of a line segment. So today we're going to be discussing quadrilaterals, and quadrilaterals have specific characteristics that make it a quadrilateral. Now, the first thing that we're going to think about is the first part of the word quad. When we hear the word quad, we know that that is representing four sides. Four. So we're going to start talking about that and seeing some other characteristics of a quadrilateral. You're going to do the problem of the day separately from this video, so it's going to be on your Google Classroom, so you'll find that there. So I'm going to pass that up. But a quadrilateral is a shape with four sides. Now remember, the word quad represents four, and four vertices. It is classified as a polygon because, first of all, it has straight sides and it is a closed figure. So it's also classified as a polygon. I want you to just kind of take a look at some of these quadrilaterals. In this particular picture here, you're going to see several different ones. The first one that we see that is a quadrilateral is a square. We're all familiar with a square. We know that it has four equal sides. It has four vertices. And we're going to be learning something else today about something called a right angle that it also has. The next shape here is called a rhombus. A rhombus. It also has straight sides, so all of these are considered polygons because they're all closed shapes and they all have straight sides made up of line segments. The next one is a rectangle, and as we go through, you can see these shapes. This is a rhombus. This is a square, just turned sideways. This is called a trapezoid, And as we work through this PowerPoint or this video, you're going to see many different things about each one of these quadrilaterals that are going to be important for you to remember. So let's just discuss some of those that we already know about, and one of those that we for sure know about is a rectangle. A rectangle has four sides. It has four right angles. Not only that, we're going to learn something about parallel lines that a rectangle also has. The second shape is called rhombus. A rhombus is four sides of the same length. So it is similar to a square. It is similar to a square. The last shape that we're going to talk about in this particular part of the video is a square. Now, a square is kind of interesting. It has four right angles, just like a rectangle, and it has four sides of the same length, just like a rhombus. So we see that they are all parallelograms. We also see that a square has four right angles. So a square is a rectangle. I know that sounds crazy because I can say a square is a rectangle, but a rectangle is not a square. Now look at these qualifications. To be a square, it has to have right angles and sides of the same length. We can obviously see our rectangle does not have the same length of sides, but it does have four right angles. Now, when we're thinking of right angles, we're talking about this little section here that forms a right angle, which is at a 90 degrees, and you're going to learn more about that in fourth grade. So we see that a square is a rectangle, but a rectangle can't be a square because a square has the same side lengths. So we can also see that a square can be classified as a rhombus because it also has four sides of the same length. So it can also be classified as a rhombus. It is important for us to keep in mind that that we have lots of particular qualifications for each shape, and sometimes some of those overlap, just like a square. A square can be a rectangle, but a rectangle cannot be a square. So those are the reasons why I just gave you. So we're going to be thinking about that as we go through, and we're going to learn something about a parallelogram as well today. Here are some others that we're looking at. The first one that you see here is a trapezoid. Now, to be a trapezoid, there has to be exactly one pair of parallel sides or sides that never cross. Now, what that's saying is we're looking at, now here, if I were to keep these lines going in this same way, these lines are eventually going to cross over one another up here. Now, if I were to follow these lines, they will keep going straight and never cross. So in this particular trapezoid, the parallel sides would be represented here. So it has exactly one pair of parallel sides, and that's going to be these sides here, because they will never cross one another. Now, again, if I kept going here, eventually this side and this side would cross somewhere up in here, because my lines would go over one another. So a trapezoid has exactly one pair of parallel sides. Now, a parallelogram, on the other hand, has two pairs of parallel sides. So let's look at this parallelogram here. If I were to keep this side and this side going, they would never cross. The lines would keep going straight, they would never cross. That would also be the case for here as well. These lines will continue on and never cross. So a parallelogram is going to have two pairs of parallel sides. So all of these are also quadrilateral. So we can classify shapes in many different ways. We can classify them as their shape name. We can classify them as quadrilaterals. We can classify them as polygons that we learned about last week. We can classify them as parallelograms. So there are many different classifications that we could actually put these shapes under. Now, when we talk about classifying quadrilaterals, we're going to be looking at their attributes. What do they have to let us know what we can classify them as? Now, I put some notes here, and it would be great if you took these notes so that it would help you remember some of those qualifications. So, some quadrilaterals have parallel sides. These sides that never touch. Or these are sides that never touch, sorry. Can't read this morning. They stay the same distance apart. Now, we're talking about those parallel sides that I just told you about, that they will never cross. If they keep going straight, they will never cross one another at all. So these are sides that never touch. Again, parallel sides. Some quadrilaterals can also have right angles. These angles form a square, they form square corners or form an L shape in the corner. So I showed you that earlier on one of those shapes that we talked about. A rectangle has right angles because they form L's at the vertices in those corners. And sometimes you will see a little square drawn in the bottom of those vertices to show that it is a right angle. Now, in fourth grade, you're going to talk a lot about angles. You're going to talk a lot about the measurements of those angles. And anytime that you see a right angle, it's going to measure 90 degrees. So you'll be doing that in fourth grade, which I'm excited for you to do because those are some fun activities that you can learn about angles. So that means that we can compare sides to group the shapes. We can also look at angle types to group shapes, and we talked a little bit about that last week, that some qualifications can be determined based on their size, how many sides they have. We talked about hexagons and pentagons. Hexagons have 6 sides, pentagons have 5 sides, triangles have 3 sides. Quadrilaterals have 4 sides. So we talked about that last week. So there's all kinds of ways that we can classify shapes and things that we're going to look at. And they may just like a quadrilateral, it's going to be a polygon, it's going to be a quadrilateral, it may be a parallelogram based on how many sides are parallel. And remember, to be a parallelogram, there has to be two sides that are parallel, two different sets of sides. So in a trapezoid, you only have one group of parallel sides. So there's all kinds of ways that we can classify shapes. So that is actually the end of our lesson for today. What I want you to do is work on some iExcel that will help you classify shapes. And we're going to try to stay focused on parallelograms today, quadrilaterals today. I will be available to help you after I complete some assessments with the Click and Soar students. So I will be available on the whole group link, so you can find that at the top, but you want to give me some opportunities to get that finished with that other group that I'm going to be doing those assessments with. And then just try to hop on that link just to see if I'm finished and available for you. So you can I would try to focus on getting on after noon if you need help, so that I can be available to help you there. But you're just going to click on the whole group link that's at the top. I hope everybody has an awesome day, and I hope you enjoy working on quadrilaterals today, because it's kind of fun to classify shapes. Again, if you need any help, just let me know. And I hope that we don't get all this crazy snow. If you like this snow in April, let me know in the message box on the lesson work, because I love snow, but not in April. Not in April. So I hope everybody has an awesome day. I'll see you later.